And we are finally here with the vegetable tier list. It's been a long time coming, but I finally found some time where my dad wasn't home and wouldn't stare at me through the glass doors in our dining room, wondering why I'm talking to myself about vegetables. But finally, we are here with the vegetable tier list. I am using tiermaker.com, one of the user-generated format layouts, whatever you want to call it. And you know what? Let's just get right in. So starting out first, we have the cauliflower, which is sort of like the inbred mutant twin brother of broccoli. I feel like a lot less people prefer it to broccoli, and I am on that boat as well. Broccoli is much better because it has texture. This thing, it's weird. It's waxy. It looks like coral. It tastes somewhat flavorless. I mean, it's one of those things that you have to flavor a lot. It doesn't come with a distinct flavor. However, this was one of the vegetables that I've had a lot less experience with, given that we really only started eating it after we became vegan, since with vegan, it has a lot of more vegan applications. So yeah, prior to being vegan, I really didn't eat that much cauliflower. But with the veganism, you blend it up and you make mac and cheese or whatever, and it gives that creamy texture to a lot of sauces that otherwise would not have it. But I just don't like the taste of it, so it's going in C tier. Okay, up next we got the eggplant, and eggplant, it really sucks when you don't pick it at the right time, which we seem to, whenever we cook it, we seem to always get the crappy eggplants with all the seeds inside. And when not cooked well, or even when cooked well, it can have a really slimy interior that's unappealing to texture wise. And it's also one of those things that you have to flavor a lot. And undercooking it means that you get like a firm, wet type of thing. And I guess if you overcook it, it's just dry. So for that, I'm going to put it in D tier. I really don't like seeds, so some of the determinations I will be making in this tier list are based on the fact that seeds stink. However, eggplant is pretty good when you make it like into a paste like thing, something like eggplant barta or baba ganoush. But other than those applications, eggplant on its own, just cut into strips, cooked, it sucks. And up next, we got the spring onions, green onions. These are widely used in a lot of the food I make, simply because it's a nice flavor boost and it's not hard to prepare. I think though that using the entire onion is necessary to its getting the most value out of it and the most taste out of it. Since some people, I don't know, maybe some people just cut off the white part and only eat the green part, or only eat the white part, but you need all of it, right? The white stem is that nice, more acrid taste, while the upper part's more fragrant. The green part's more fragrant and such. And yeah, I guess this is a pretty standard vegetable. It's going to go into A tier. And up next, one of the more controversial groups of vegetables are the mushrooms. These are just button mushrooms, but I think I'm just going to classify them based on the whole overarching group of mushrooms. I love mushrooms. They provide a really nice meaty texture that otherwise would not be present with vegan food. Maybe you get it from like eggplant, but I don't eat eggplant. But there's so many different ranges of mushrooms too, and they all have that sort of earthy taste and scent that I definitely drives some people away, but I really love it, so it's going in S tier. I would say my favorite, I like the seafood mushrooms. My favorite mushroom are the seafood mushrooms, the long little strands of mushrooms. They're white and they have the tiny little heads, and you just pop in your mouth like lollipops, except eating a lot of them makes you sick. I think they're also called enogi mushroom. Up next, we have the sweet potato, and the sweet potato is the brother of the more well-known regular potato. I really enjoy sweet potatoes because it makes you feel like, you're eating something healthy when it's really just a glorified potato with some extra vitamins and antioxidants in it. The flavor is great, distinct from all the other flavors in this list. Sweet, unlike most of the other stuff, and like a sugary sweet, not really like sweet like a bell pepper or a tomato or corn. So it has a bunch of applications that are similar to those of a potato, but a few more things, like you can make it into like a nice paste that serves in like a sweet potato casserole. And so because of its versatility and distinct flavor, I will be putting the sweet potato in S tier. And up next, we got these little buggers. What are they? These are I think those are radishes. I haven't had a lot of experience eating radishes, so I'm just gonna plump them in B tier. Same thing with the turnips. I'm sure if you prepare them well, it works. Shallots, pretty much just a smaller onion. So because they're smaller than a regular onion, and onions are probably the best vegetable among the top vegetables, this will be going in B tier, I believe. And I think it's a cucumber, not a zucchini. Cucumbers, I've sort of grown to dislike them simply because the larger varieties have a lot of that white membrane, a lot of that clear membrane that isn't very appetizing as the skin. So I like a lot of the younger cucumbers. That's kind of weird. That's a little weird to say. I'm not a pedo. I'm not a cucumber pedo, but yeah. Cucumber sort of lost its touch for me over the years. But pickles are so great, so this will also go into B tier. And we got a controversial one here. We got the broccoli. I've always hated broccoli since I was a kid, but I can see why people like it. The texture is superb. It has that nice crunch and then all the little fuzzy bits, and that's what I really hate about the fuzzy bits. The fuzzy bits, I have some weird childhood nightmare, PTSD or whatever that's connected to it, which makes me think that something lives inside the broccoli, within the stalk, like a little tree. For me, it's just the texture tickles your mouth in a weird way, and I just don't like that. So for that reason, it will be going in C tier. And now, moving on to the fennel. I believe a lot of applications of fennel simply use the green part, and aside, not the bulb. And I've never cooked fennel or eaten it, so I'd have to just put this in C tier. Given that I think in the one time I saw in that movie Chef, when Jon Favreau is making the stuff in the morning, he just kind of tossed the bulb aside. And so that is my limited knowledge of how to prepare fennel. And with this limited knowledge, I will simply say that it is a waste to just toss away the bulb. And so that's why it's C tier. Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, also another one of those foods, if cooked poorly, does not taste very good. They have a flavor that sort of turns off a lot of people, but I've grown to like them over the years. When you prepare them simply with just oil, salt, and pepper, they're fine. But I believe when you add additional seasonings like a vinaigrette or something along those lines, you get something elevated, something better than just plain old Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to put these in A tier. I really like Brussels sprouts when they're cooked with some sauce and really, really crispy and caramelized. And yeah. Up next, we got the biggest stinker on this list. We got garlic. Garlic gets a bad rap for its smell, but whatever it takes away from you with its smell gives it back with its amazing taste. It is such a flavor boost. It has that nice umami flavor. I guess I'm just gonna toss that word around willy-nilly, but it's really great for boosting the flavor of your dish, adding another layer of complexity, and that's why it's going into S tier. And up next, we got cabbage. Cabbage is very versatile. It has so many applications. You can use it in a salad, a slaw. It's used in a lot of fillings. It has that nice crunch, but it can also be watered down, made really mushy, and that's when it kind of sucks. But cabbage is great when prepared correctly, and for that reason, I'm going to put it in the A tier. Up next, we got the red bell pepper, or all the bell peppers for that matter. I will categorize under this under this guy. Red peppers, like as I said before with the sweet potatoes, provide a nice sweetness, freshness that is not seen among the other vegetables, aside from maybe like carrots or corn. But there are so many applications for them. We eat them in almost every meal we make. It's just another vegetable that you can throw in that won't completely screw with the flavor profile or texture. You can roast them, you could saute them, you can grill them on skewers, and you can even make red pepper soup out of it. And so for that reason it's going into S tier. And up next we have tomatoes. Tomatoes, so many different varieties, and when they're fresh, they are plump, they are tasty. They drip down your chin. It's like blood, like you've just ripped the guts out of some animal and submitted to your carnal desires. They too are a great flavor enhancer and are used in a lot of dishes. Tomato soup, tomato soups, soups in general, chilies. You throw in a can of tomatoes. Tomato sauce, used as a topping on sandwiches. The flavor is also very sweet and distinct. And I don't really like tomatoes raw. I like them cooked in with other stuff. But because they're cooked into so many of the things that I eat, I'm throwing an S tier. And up next, we got lettuce. Lettuce is the anchor for all salads. It is the baseline. It is used in everything. But that's where it sort of falls short. You don't really use it much else. You use it as a topping on your sandwich, but most of the time it's just used in salads, and it's not very versatile, but it is a great vessel for dressings and other sauces and other flavors. And you can't really go wrong with it. It's not like there's an off taste or anything. I do, however, have a bit of a problem with that little white stem part at the bottom. It's flavorless, bland, so you really need sauce or a dressing when you're eating lettuce. For that reason, it will be going in. I'm gonna say A tier because salads are great. And here we got the red onion. I will also classify, I guess, it as a white onion too. Onions used in everything, perfect. Nice when they're caramelized. They provide that nice sweet flavor. And they don't really screw with the texture of the dish either. If anything, they contribute to it. Easy S tier. Also, you can pickle red onions like you saw in my last video. If you didn't see that one, check it out. I made some quick pickled red onions. And yeah. Spinach. Now, I used to love spinach, but it too has sort of grown away from me. Like that girlfriend I never had. It just, when you cook it, sometimes it just becomes watery and there's no it's mush, right? I would say when prepared right, which is normally to some people just sautéing it with a bit of garlic and oil, that leaves it wet and mushy, and I just don't like that about it. Good nutritional content, but I feel like it doesn't have a lot of where to go. It's not very versatile. It's sort of just added in for the sake of adding color to dish. C tier. Artichokes. Haven't had a lot of artichoke. I have had a bit of it. it has a sort. It's similar to Brussels sprouts in that it has a bit of a funky flavor and smell that sort of turns some people off, and it's definitely turned me off a bit. And for that reason, it will be going also in the C tier. We got butternut squash. I think butternut squash is great. It has a lot of uses. It falls similar into a category. It feels like a mix between sweet potato and like cauliflower, in that both share the similar properties of this is something that you turn down into a nice butternut squash soup, or you can make noodles out of it if you're a psychopath. But I like the sweet flavor, but it sort of can be too tough sometimes. And for that reason, it will be going into the C tier. And up next, we got carrots. Carrots were my favorite vegetable as a child. I would always eat them, dip them in a fat dip of ranch, and snort it down my nose and then eat it. No, I didn't do that. But carrots are the staple root vegetable. They are nice and sweet, like sweet potatoes, but they can also be cooked down to the point where they're not mushy and pasty, but mushy and still hold some of that texture. And for that reason, they will be going in A tier. And these are what I believe to be called endives. I've had them once. I had them once at this vegan restaurant in Brooklyn. I forgot the name of it, but it has a weird nutty flavor, and I didn't really like it. So D tier. Sorry. And up next, we got the most famous, the greatest vegetable, quote unquote vegetable of all time, a potato. I say quote unquote. I throw air quotes on it simply because it doesn't really have a lot of nutritional content, but it is so good. It's a vessel for salt and oil that you get down your mouth. Potato chips are great. Roasted potatoes are great. Mashed potatoes are great. French fries, the greatest thing that happened to America, other than a hamburger, I guess. So that's why they're S tier alongside their sweet orangey brother. And down here we got the beets. Beets, very acquired taste. It's weird. They are very metallic. They bleed, and most of the time they're cooked crappily. So I think that just qualifies them for D tier, given that they do not. They have to be made a certain way in order for them to be great. They're not just great given their own time. And we got corn. Corn is really good. I like corn on the cob a lot. It is a nice sweet. Fresh corn is nice and sweet and fresh, kind of like a bell pepper. And it has a lot of the uses. It's used in almost anything, like everything processed. Corn syrup, corn starch, yeah, all those ingredients are used in pretty much most processed foods. Sort of takes away, though, given that we eat it every day. I guess it goes into A tier when eaten in its raw state. Now, chilies are great for adding that extra level of pizzazz to your dish. Nice and spicy, tastes really good when you want to forget that what you're eating is bad or weird texture-wise. When your mouth is on fire, you can't really tell that. Therefore, S tier. Roasting them is a great way to bring out their flavor, and I just love feeling my mouth on fire. It's like a high without doing drugs. Yeah. And up next, we got celery. Celery is a part of the mirepoix, the French mirepoix, which includes celery, carrot, and onion. Celery has a distinct flavor. In its raw state, it provides a lot of fiber. It's very aromatic. And when it cooked down, it's kind of like a carrot. It's a little mushier than a carrot. It sort of melts in your mouth. You don't have to put a lot of effort into chewing it. Great for old people and babies, I guess. And I really like it too. Nice flavor. A. Now, chives. Gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of chives. Chives are honestly the inferior brother of scallions. Scallions are so much better because they provide a lot more texture. Chives are kind of just there for flavor, you know. It doesn't taste. It doesn't. You can't feel it in your mouth. When cooked, you chop it up. All the water is cooked out of it. It's just a flavor producer, and I want to be able to taste my food when I eat it. So this is gonna go in C tier. C for chives. Red cabbage, a little more textured than regular cabbage, but that's not really gonna change anything. I'm gonna toss that up in A tier with cabbage. Great in slaws. Asparagus. Now, I feel like the really fat asparaguses, they're big, they're meaty, they're hunky, but it's just not pleasurable in your mouth. You get all these little strands that you have to cut through with your teeth, and the outside can feel sort of shiny. It sort of like squeaks against your teeth, and that's just an unappetizing experience. And yeah, you really need to cut off the butts for it to taste good. The heads are good when they're nice and chewy, and you don't get that sort of glossy, stringy taste from it. So it's going in B for butts. Kale, the quintessential health food. Really great as kale chips. I feel like when prepared right, it tastes good. Even when crappily sautéed with a bit of garlic and oil, it has that nice crunchy texture to it still, and it's a little bitter, but it still makes you feel like you're really healthy and like you're making a positive impact on the world. And so we'll just pop that in A tier. A tier, yeah. So this is the final vegetable tier list. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys tune in a couple weeks for my next episode.